going to start off with this first one. This is the one you had emailed me. So I'm going to start off with this one here. And then for the next one, I'm going to prompt you for more input. Okay, so but the first one, I'm going to kind of work through it more. When we're setting these up, there's like I said, there's a couple different ways. I'm going to show you a shortcut. It doesn't work. The shortcut doesn't really help much for the first one, but I'll show you for a longer one. So I have two statements, P and Q. So that means I'm going to set it up with P and Q, and I'm going to have 4 rows. And when I set those up, it's always going to be the same. True, true, false, false. And then for the Q, I alternate them. True, false, true, false. Now I got to figure out how to do the rest of the statement. Oops. So what I want to have is not P or Q. So before I can do not P or Q, I need to do P or Q. So I'm going to do a column for P or Q. Once I have that column, I can do not P or Q. And this one here is going to be my answer. That'll be my final column.
Okay.
All right. So P or Q. So I look at that one, I said, okay, or. As long as one or the other is true, it's going to be a true. So true or true, true. True or false, true. False or true, that's a true. And then the last one, false or false, that one's going to be a false.
Okay.
So far, so good?
Nope, so far so good.
Okay. So now, how do we do the negation? The negation says just give me the opposite of what you just had.
Okay.
So the opposite of true will be false. So I get false, false, and then the last one is true.
Okay.
This final column, that's my answer to the truth table.
Okay.
Okay, so there's pretty much 3 steps in it. First of all is setting up the basic table. So I said 2 statements. I had, my start off with my 2 columns and my 4 rows. And the second part is, like I said, you got to break it up into the pieces, and then filling it out, along the way. Give me a little bit. Okay, so the next one I got P and not Q or P. So I still only have 2 statements, P and Q. So I'll start with a P, Q. It's a little bit better. Okay. Now you should know how to set up this first part. All right, so the P, what am I going to write down for P?
All right, for P and Q?
No, what do I write down underneath P? How do I do the first setup?
Okay, we're going to go with, we have true, and then false, false, true.
It's better to you want to do like half trues and half false, but it's better to always set them up the same way. So I would do P as true, true, false, false.
Okay.
And then Q as true, false, true, false. You always start them that way.
Okay.
Notice like the one above it, we started it the exact same way.
Okay.
How many statements do we have?
We have 3.
Okay. So you got 3 of them. So that means the number of rows
is going to be, going back over here with 3 statements, we're going to have 8 tables.
Yep, 8 rows. 8 rows on our table. Yep. Okay. So our initial setup, and it doesn't matter what order you do them in. If you don't do them in the same order I do, it just means I got to kind of move everything around. So I would get in the habit of doing P, Q, R. Do them in that order. Okay. Or if it's like if they give you a table, then set it up in whatever order they give it to you. But I'm going to do it as P, Q, and then R.
Okay. 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Okay.
All right. I'm going to move this down. Give myself a little space. All right. So this is how I start it right here. Now I got to set up all the truth values in here. Like I said, they're going to be the same. This part here doesn't change with the question.
Okay.
So I want half true, half false. So that means I'm going to make the first 4 true. And then the last 4 false.
Okay.
Now with Q, I'm going to do half true and half false again, but I can't do it the same way, otherwise I don't get that mix up. So I'm going to do true, true, false, false. True, true, false, false.
Okay.
And then for the R, again, half are true, half are false, but this time I'm going to go true, false, true, false, true, false, true, false.
Okay.
Okay, now we're ready to get into setting up all the other columns.
Okay.
So like when I said, when I look at this, and I'm coming up here to the original, I've got R implies P or not Q. So before I can do R implies that stuff in parentheses, I got to figure out what that stuff in parentheses is. So that's going to be the first thing I got to do, is I got to figure out what is P or not Q. But I said, wait a minute, I can't do P or not Q until I figure out what not Q is. So the first thing I do is not Q.
Okay.
Once I know what not Q is, then I can do P. Oops, let me do a different color. Then I can do P or not Q. So the first thing I have to do is just this piece.
First one's going to be false, right?
Yep, and so what we do is we look to the Q column. We look right here. We said, oh, okay, I want not Q, so I'm going to give the opposites. So what are we going to get?
We're going to get false, false, true, true, false, false, true, true.
You got it. Now you're looking at the right place.
This is easy.
Once you get it, it's easy. Until you
Yeah,
get
it wasn't easy the other day. I had a headache when I went to bed. I was like, oh my gosh.
All right, so now we got to do the P or not Q. So P, that means I'm looking at this column, or not Q, this column here. So those are the two I'm looking at. And then remind yourself, what is it with the or? Well, as long as one or the other is true, then it's going to be true.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, we still have the opposite, though, on the Q, though.
We're not worried about that. We're not worried about that because we were looking at the P and the not Q column. We've already figured out what not Q is.
I gotcha. So we're going to, like, an exponent, take it out.
Yep, we've already done it. Yep.
Mark off. Okay, yep. So we're doing true, true.
Where are you looking? Wait. Where are you looking? Are you looking at the P column?
Yeah, I'm looking at the P and the Q column.
No, you want to look at P and the not Q column.
Oh, so, okay, now I get it. Okay, so true and false.
Right. Don't say and, say true or false. So true or false is going to be?
True.
True. Yep, as long as one of them is true, the or is true. So then you got true or false again.
You got a true.
True or true.
That's going to be true.
Yep. True or true again.
True.
How about false or false?
It's going to be false.
Yep. False or false again. Then we have false or true.
That's going to be false.
Or
true, so it would be true.
Yep, as long as one of them is true, it's going to be true. And then we have false or true again will be true.
True. Okay.
And we're not done. We've just finished this piece. And now we have to do, and I mean, this really is, I would not ask you, certainly not anything longer or harder than this on a test. You know, a quiz where you get your notes and your books is different, but the test can't go this far, you know. But now I'm ready for my last step. My last step says, okay, what is R? You know, if R, then P or not Q. And again, keep in mind, this part here we just did in purple.
Mm-hmm. So now we're going to be looking at the R and the last table that we did, or the last column we did.
So R, yeah, that's right. So these two here, that's where we're looking.
So we're looking at true, true.
Okay, so let's remind ourselves about the if. What's the deal with the if then?
It has, R has to, in order, it has to.
When did I lie? When I was elected and the taxes were not lowered. So that's when you get it false. That's what you want to remember. True, if true, then false. That's going to be a false. Everybody else is true.
Okay.
So if true, then false. I'm sorry, if true, then true. That one's true. If the first part is false, then it's going to be a true, no matter what.
Okay.
Let's see, true, true.
That'll be true.
Yep. And false, true, that's true. How about true, false?
That's going to be false, isn't it?
That one's false, right. That one's false. And then false, false, yeah, that's true. True, true, we're good. And false, true, we're good.
Okay.
That's my final answer.
Okay.
Take a P and not Q. All right, so I want you to set up the truth table for that.
Okay.
So what's the first thing you should think about?
Is that both, it's an and that it's going to have 4
Okay,
rows.
right. Okay, so the first thing I want you to think about is there are 2 statements, P and Q. So I'm going to have 4 rows. So I'm going to set it up with P, Q, and 4 rows.
Okay.
That's the first. That's what I want you. That's the only thing I want you to think about. I don't want you to think about ands or anything else yet. Just what do I do to start it?
Okay.
Tell me how to fill these in.
We are going to go with the first is P is true. True. Or wait, true, false on that. Right?
I think it's you can do it any way you want as long as you get them all mixed together. But I think it's better to do true, true, false, false.
Okay, kind of like we do the 8. Okay, true, true,
Yep.
false, false.
And then the Q, I would do true, false, true, false.
True, false, true, false. That way we can have a different answer. Okay,
Right,
I got that.
True, 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 false, false, true, false, false. So I got them all. I got all the trues and falses all mixed together.
Okay.
Okay. Now what?
Now we're looking at, we are going to do the not Q.
Correct.
So we're going to compare that to the Q column.
Yep.
So the opposite of true is going to be false. And the opposite of false is going to be true. Opposite of true is going to be false, and then true.
You got it.
Wow, all right.
Keep going.
All right, and then we've got to work the and P and Q because we're going to mark off that negation. P and Q. So I'm looking at the both two. True and true is going to give me true.
So which ones are you looking at?
I'm looking at the P and Q column, right?
Not the Q. You want to look at the not Q.
Okay, so P and not Q.
Yep.
So the first is going to be false.
Okay.
The second is going to be true is true.
Okay.
And false is false. And false true is going to give me false.
Okay. This is your final answer.
And I got it, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So now what you need to do is practice.